Okay, great. Onegaishimasu.
Onegaishimasu.
Perfect. We'll just do some little bit. Just shaking everything out a little bit. Reaching your arms out to the side. Get up to the top. Roll in one side. Open out. Keep the bounce if you can. Circle all the way. Bring the other side. Bring back together to the sides. Reverse in the direction. It's a little bit twisting the body with the arms. Okay, and then just working with the legs. You're just going to start with just opening and closing. Let the arms follow. And a little bit more active, you're going to close at the when you close the legs, close the arms, and then as you open them out. So you're going to kind of close and open. And a little bit more active in the hips now as well. So. Good, just keeping that position, coming down into squat, coming right up to the top. Just find full extension right at the top. Good. Looking side to side. You can loosen into star. Great, and then what you're going to play with is coming down into the stretch. And then if you can, if it's comfortable to do it, keep the hips the same level. Open the hips out, change the side. If you need to use the hands in the ground, do it. Just going from one side to the other, keeping the hips low. Immobilizing through the hips. That's it. Great. Second to a little bit of lunge work. So I'm just going to come 1 second. So you're going to go 1 step in, get touched into the ground, and then stepping forwards. We're going to do this backwards. So you go back, down, bring the feet together, back, down, bring the feet together. Nice and controlled. Just a few minutes, sorry. Okay, perfect. And then we're going to go down to the ground. You're going to go into this one. This is going from a press up position here. You're going to take it down to a plank with the arms, with the on the forearms, and then come back up. Stay this nice and slow as you do one arm at a time. 1, 2, and then back up. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2. Great. And then from here, just working the feet, just working the heels. You're kind of treading the heels backwards. Great, and nice and easy. From here, you're going to raise the knee towards the arm. And drop it back. Bring the knee to the arm, back. Changing sides each time. A few more here. Yeah. And stretching back with the body, right the way through the arms. Right, walking the feet in towards the hands. Let the body fold forward. Release the upper body. Great, nice and slowly bending the knees, curling the body up. Right to the top. Yep. Okie great. Just going to do a little bit of rotation work. So have the hands out, legs out. You're going to rotate first, come over, and then go down. Take it nice and slow. Reach up to the top. Come back up. Back to the middle. Rotate through the body. Drop in. Set. Good. One more each side. And then just link the thumbs at the back. Keep the legs straight, a little bit closer together. Bending the body down. Reach the arms right up over the back. Great, nice and slowly releasing it. Great. And press the arms out to the sides as far as you can. Pressing the arms away from each other. And bringing the arms to the back, taking the forearm of each arm. This way. Just get into that position, find yourself comfortable. Get the arms as far as you can into the arms, kind of wrapped around the rib cage. And then once you've got that, just slowly raising the elbows away from the body, softening the shoulders at the front. Nice deep breath here. Releasing it, just rolling the shoulders out, big circle each way. Right, we're just wrapping over the elbow, taking the hand at the front, and just reaching the hands up. At the same time, trying to sink the shoulders towards the back. Up, release it down, bringing the elbows down towards the chest, stretching out to the front. Perfect. Okay, untangling the arms, crossing to the side, shape, and then reaching up. Great, sinking the arms down, elbows towards the chest, stretching the arms out to the front. Great. Okay, releasing them out. Just working the wrists a little bit. Really spreading the fingers out away from each other as you roll them. Great, we'll just do a little bit of stretching for the fingers to the wrist. Sticking the top, just taking it straight back towards the shoulder. Good. Perfect. Releasing a little bit, just taking a little bit away from the body. Great. Releasing it a little bit towards the body. Good. Making a fist, doing the same thing, stretching it towards the armpit in this case. Slightly adjusting it away from the body. Right, towards the body. Good. And then last one, opening the palm out. Fingers towards the armpit. Good. A little bit away from the body. A little bit towards the body. Just shaking the hand out. Great. The same on the other side, reaching the fingers out, straight back. Good. A little bit away. Good. A little bit towards the body. Great. Making a fist straight back. A little bit away. Towards the body. Opening the palm out, fingers down. And to the outside. Good, to the inside. Great. I'm just going to work the fingers individually. So just use the forearm, just gently rolling back on the finger, each one individually. Oh. Nice and gentle. Go to the hand. Yeah. And then for the thumbs, you're going to wrap the thumbs at the body, at the rib cage, and then you want to spread the fingers to the front and a little bit up. So you just want to really get this rolling and opening the thumbs out a little bit. Go. Okay, great. And shaking them out. A little bit to the sides. A little bit up and down. Shaking them right out the top. Rolling the arms down. Shift the legs up. Yeah, placing the feet, shaking up all the way. Okay, good. We're going to take this to a little bit of a tempo. Open the Okay, we're going to start really loose. So what you want to concentrate on, in this case, we're going to do a little bit of attemi work, just working with a punch. So the key thing to start with is this nice square stance, and the sense that the spine stays neutral and balanced throughout all of this. So we're going to start really, really loose with it. So a little bit like the shaking out exercise. You're just going to take one side, and you want to feel the whole joint release. So you're going to raise it up, release it, raise it up, release it. As if you're flicking water off the fingers. So it's just flicking out, flicking out, flicking out. Really loose. So as loose as you can with the arm. So the looser the better in this case. So, good. Go with that. That's it. Good. Great. Okay, exactly the same exercise now, but you're going to focus really on the center line of the body. So when you deliver this, rather than it being kind of anywhere, have the sense that you're going to deliver it right down the center line. So if you imagine, I've got a kind of slight target that I'm using at the moment. So this kind of thing, you want to really imagine that it's central to the body. In this case, it's going to be like this, and you're going to deliver the blow straight at it, right? So what I want you to think about, you can use a target which can be away from you. You can use something you can actually reach. So yeah, the center of the body, and just imagine you're flicking it out. So again, flicking out, but really now with the sense that the center of the body is aligning to the target. So we've got that. Just give that a try. Yeah, that's it, perfect. So it's better if you've got something to actually kind of focus on. Yeah, that's it, perfect. Good, Bob. Good. Yeah, right, good. Yeah, good. The pumpkin, great. Nice. Yeah, perfect. Good. Right. Right. Yeah. The main thing here in this one, being really loose, it's also keeping the neutrality in the body. So what you're going to do now is use the backhand with it. So this is the same when you do standard striking work, especially if you've ever gone to like a karate class or Shotokan karate. You're going to use the backhand to balance the body. So in this case, keep it soft with this, but you're going to let the backhand now reach the target here, and then flick it out, find the back with it. So reach the target, flick it out, find the target with it. But what you want to focus on here is the dynamic between the hands, reaching out. So you've got one hand reaching, it's going to reach back. At the same time, this one comes out. The main thing you want to look at is that the shoulders you don't pull forward. So you want to use this back hand to really and focus on the back of the body and this sense of the hands working really together. So put as much emphasis now on the backwards hand, this one, as the front. But imagine them really working together. This way. Right. That's it. Good.
So is this more of a movement with my arm or with my hips?
Right, yeah, you don't want the hips to be locked, so you don't want the hips to be rigid, and I'm basically doing that, right? But you don't want also the hips to throw me out of the structure. So the hips are slightly rotating, the center slightly moved up, the spine slightly rotating, in this case, that way, but it's not a huge movement. So it's not like something like that, which is going to really pull me out. So especially with this neutral spine, this kind of way, just think about that kind of move. So the hips are really involved in it, but it's a very slight movement. That kind of feeling. That kind of feeling. Right. That's it. Right. Good. Yeah. The main thing to watch with this is it's a really frustrating thing. You need a lot of, or we need a lot of time. Me too. Involved. We need to spend a lot of time going slow and actually control without thinking about power. So you're just actually thinking about coordination and actually really maintaining the balance in the body. So the worst thing I can do at this stage is start to add power into it, or think that I'm going to add power in, which is either going to come from speed or tension, which feels strong but isn't. So just get a sense here that you're really going to take it slow and really have the sense now of looking for the balance in the structure. That's it. It's kind of frustrating, but it's really necessary in order to get a nice balanced movement through the whole body. So that's it. Good. That's it, perfect. Good. That's it. Great. So we'll take this now into a straight strike with it. So just going to a punch. So what I want you to feel is if you've got the target, you're going to just slightly reach out to it. Not physically like reach out for it, but just have the arm out. And then again, you do the same thing. This hand's by the hip, and you're just going to release the strike out. At the same time as you're drawing this hand back, press this one out. This is kind of the most basic kind of striking exercise you can do. So you're just on the target, draw it back, press this one forward. Draw it back, press it forward. You want, in this case, both hands are really going to kind of shoot from the elbow. So you want this arm to start close. The elbow's going to shear across the body. And then as this one comes back, it's going to draw against the body. So you really want to sense that it's, the elbow is against the body, nice and tight. Right. That's it. So both arms are kind of squeezing the movement out. Right. That's it. That's nice. Right. Great. The main thing again with this is about tension. So what you want to notice is if, as soon as you make the fist, the tendency is to tense the whole arm. As you go into it now, that it feels like that. So I'm basically holding the whole structure in the arm. What you want to feel is this is still quite loose. So you don't just play here, just with making fists, but keeping the joint system open. So you want the ability to make a really tight fist, but keep everything quite loose. So you got this kind of feel. You look at boxers or anyone that does striking, they don't really ever lock the body. In this case, like this kind of thing. And this is kind of classic martial arts kind of training. When I go like that, I take a position, tense up, but really have a sense of something a little bit more fluid. But it starts by just getting that feeling you can close the fist without it really affecting the rest of the body. So just play here again with the target nice and loose. Make the fist, but feel that you can loosely move. So again, it's not about power, it's just about mobility at the start. And then later, coordination. But it first starts, for me, it starts with mobility, that sense that I can mobilize the whole structure through it. That. So just play here, just loose limb, but like heavy fists. Right. Yeah. if you think about it, you want the same ability also when we're working with a sword. So it's like you want the ability to have a grip that's strong, but still keeps the body fluid. So I don't want to ever have the sense that grip has locked the body, locked the arms up into the structure. So that's going to really compromise mobility. So, and also you can think in terms of grabbing. When you go into grabbing techniques, you want the ability to grab strongly, but keep the body mobile so that you can actually adjust to what's happening. It's the same with strike. Perfect. Good.
Michael.
Yeah, sure.
You know, when we hold the bokken or the jo, we usually use the back fingers. Is that the same idea of concept with the fist?
Yeah, it slightly depends on the style of striking. So, obviously, the Japanese style of striking from like a Shotokan karate kind of way is you're gonna actually strike with this kind of strike. You're gonna strike with the two knuckles. So you're gonna strike with this point. So rather than some striking styles, usually Chinese styles will have like a straight fist, so that I'm striking with the whole. I'm striking with the whole knuckle this way. So it just depends usually on the striking style and on the strike itself, what I'm targeting with it. So usually you'll see with Japanese style, you'll also see that kind of strike taught a lot in Japan, which is like a really old style of striking, which is a good one if you're used to strengthening the hands, because we don't usually strengthen the hands a lot. Like, this is a really not so great idea. Actually, punching in general is not a really great idea for people that don't strengthen their hands. But anyway, in this case, what I might tend to focus is a little bit on the front knuckles. And yeah, it's got that similar kind of quality in terms of the bokken work, that sense of the grip tight from the back. So you end up with a bit more of a shape to the fist rather than like that. But both are useful. It really depends on what you're using it to strike with, how you're using it. You can kind of that sense of the grip can be the same. Yeah, right. Yes, good. Nice. That's good. Okay. So we'll go to a variation on this, really a totally separate strike, which is this uraken. So this is the back fist, classic back fist in the Japanese style. So you do the same thing with finding this hand. This time, this hand wraps around the body this way, so it wraps around the side of the body. You've got a slightly different hip work in this way, it's slightly more open. So you're going to now roll the body a little bit this way. Okay. The key with this one first is use the hand like a whip. So you've got a sense of whipping the hand out. So this is a great technique, especially for Aikido. We use this all the time. We use this in a lot of techniques, and it's a really good strike in terms of flexibility. So you want the ability to whip the arm out and let it come back to the body. So you use this change both sides. You've got the one hand on the center line, the other hand wraps around the body towards the face. And don't worry about making fists with this one. You can also do this really just with the back of the hand or with the fingers. That will go towards the face. But you first want just this idea of coordination, wrapping, dropping it out. Again, the hip is very slightly different. It's just going to open out a little bit. That. That's it. Good. Here we go. Yeah, again, the key with this one is this really neutral position. So the strike in a way is the clearest one, because you got a really neutral posture this way. The hips are basically just dropping into place, a little bit like how we make shonuchi. that kind of drop. Now in this one, because the hips opening out a little bit more, what you want to do is really emphasize coming back to neutral each time. So really use this position. This position, the hips are neutral, and then it gives you a really greater range of motion to be able to engage the hips this way. What you don't want to do straight away is go into dung, dung, dung. This is for later, so keep this really where you're going to find the neutrality, and then boom, open it out, bring it back. You can either change sides, or keep the same, but each time find neutral in the spine, open it out, neutral, open it out, neutral, open it out. That's nice. Good, that's good, good, good. Yeah, and again, you'll just find this kind of starting posture in terms of the feet being square on the hips being square. This is a great position to train in because it means I'm not concerned with the hips having to move in space. All you really want to think about, or of the center actually, think of the center just hitting the ground each time. So even though the body's rotating in this case, what you don't want to do is push the center out in this kind of way. So in this case, with the feet square on, you're not in motion, you're just thinking of dropping the center in. So what I want you to think about now is you reach out, do you find the strike here? Think an equal amount reaching down into the ground. So you've got a connection into the ground. So this is the kind of root for the movement. You find it dropping into it, dropping into it. So you reach out, drop down, reach out, drop down. Yeah, that's it. That's it. That's it. Perfect. Good. Okay, good. So we're just going to use these two movements. One as an attack form and one as a defensive form. So what I want you, if you've got an object, you've got a target, I want you to approach it from a distance, so like 4 or 5 steps away. And I want you to just work with first with the straight punch, kind of coming in. You're going to get to the target and then strike it this way. And you want to really be on target with it. So in this case, it's just going to be touching it. So you're going to approach it, approach it, approach it, approach it. Find that distance. And the distance is just where you need to take 1 step, striking this way. So the attack in this way, think about going straight down the line, approaching, and that kind of distance. And then coming into it. Just play with that. Okay, good. Now, as you do this one, I want you to add just a step in between it. So what you're going to do is, as you approach it, you're going to reach the distance where you can attack just without, you can attack with a step. So at this point, if I reach it, I can't touch it without moving the body. So what I want you to do is really find that distance with it. We were working on this on the seminar on Saturday, last Saturday. But I want you to find the distance, that distance here. And I want you to maintain, the key with this one also is maintain a neutral position. So I don't, the worst thing you can do in these kind of exercises like this, and gear up the strike before you've got to distance. So I want you to be casual as you do it. So you're casual, get to the distance, and then I want you to just freeze at that point. Now you should feel like I'm right at the distance, I can't reach it, but just if I make one step in, you can reach it. So just play with that, going casual, and then find the attack from that point. But give yourself a little bit of space between it. To approach it, find that gap. That's the gap I need to bridge. And how you do it is really important in terms of launching an attack. So you want to be as subtle as possible in this case. Good. Awesome. So this is obviously great to do with a partner whip. So what you want to do, you would be the target, and you would be passively observing the person. Or let's not say you're actively observing the person without doing anything. What you want to notice in this exercise, you basically have to do it to yourself. Or if you've got the screen, you can watch everyone else in the meeting. But have the sense that what you want to notice is how the person is loading up the movement. So you'll tend to see either the arms are a big tell, right? These are big clues. Like the arms are going to start to come out, the body's going to start to shift forward. So these are big clues. But the subtler ones are like the breath, but also a subtler one because it's a little bit outside. It's like how the feet are operating with the movement. You can't quite see my feet here, but have the sense that just notice within yourself where you're loading the movement from. So just notice, and you want to feel that I'm loading it from there, and then I'm going to come into that. And again, the more you can quiet those transitions down to become something that you can just strike out of and move from, whilst keeping that kind of casual stance. That's what you're kind of looking for. So you would obviously, if you're working this with a partner, you're looking for those things. These are the clues. The person's going to attack that I'm going to blend with later, or play with in terms of the timing. You want to notice. Now just in yourself, how am I actually launching the attack? Where's it coming from? And work as quiet as possible. Yeah, yeah, that's perfect. Right.
Cool.
Nice. Okay, good. So again, if we were doing this in a partner exercise, you would basically the other person. The person would be walking towards you in this kind of position, and then they've got the strike coming to the body. We would just play normally. We're just stepping out, coming to the side. So just actually stepping out, the person striking through, and you're just looking to just step out of it, which could be either backwards, forwards, in going into all these kind of exercises. Because we can't do that now. We'll go straight to the exercise here. And we're going to go into the walk as well. So this is a bit more of a, in a way, if you're doing this with a partner, this is more of an advanced one because you're both walking into the line of attack this way. But we'll do this here. You're going to do the same thing. You walk in, get to the distance, bridge it. Feel that same kind of distance. So I can't strike from here either. But I just want you to now play with coming to the side, striking this way. So play with now this uraken, but you're going to do it by coming off the line of attack this time. So approach the target, in this case, whatever you've got. Find that distance, which is about that. Just play with, you would have the idea of the attack coming in, coming off the line, and finding the strike. So. Now we always get away with this in the dojo because you say we have this thing of you can't follow the person, like you can't track the person. We do this always with the sword, like you can't track with the sword. I'm attacking the person moves, I can't follow them and change the attack, right? So we can get away with this in the dojo with this rule. But what you want to avoid in this case is something like this. As I come in, I've already chosen a side. And I move into it. Where this is really obvious. So if I'm the attacker, in this case, the person leans over, I'm going to adjust it. Because as long as we're not going faster than each other, we're not going to trick each other in that sense. But what you want again is a sense coming in neutral, and then find the side. But just watch what you'll probably have a tendency to go to one side. I've already chosen. But basically the attack is going to follow it. So then I've got to adjust again. So just play, in this case, coming straight in. Again, being as casual as you were with the attack. Right, that's right at the final strike. That's good. Yeah, unless I'm like an amazing striker, like I'm a Mike Tyson or something, this is not going to be the end of it, right? So what I want you to think about now is as you go into this, as you find this motion, I want you to be positioned in a way where you can feel like you can go into something else, which is either going to be like, oh, maybe I'm looking and I can grab the arm, right? Ideally, I'm going to get to the back of the person and just take them, right? But just play with the feeling now as you go into this. Again, anything where I'm kind of out of structure, this is going to be very tricky to do with any kind of balance, and especially in art like Aikido, which relies on taking control of the person. It relies on me having balance to do it. So as you do this now, think that as you come into the movement, I'm going to be in a position where I can apply technique from it. So the best idea is here is you've made the strike, you've distracted them, and something's available to take either the arm, the back of the neck, or something. So just play with kind of what would follow, what would come after it. Right. Good. What? So. Okay, last 10 minutes, we'll do the same kind of exercise just with the bokken. So if you got one handy, just grab it now. So we'll do exactly the same kind of ideas. This is basically the same kind of principles. So these are kind of sword work principles applied into the body work. So we'll explore them now with the sword directly. So if you've got a target that's kind of freestanding, this is ideal. What you're going to do is the same thing. Just play first with finding the distance. And again, it's just the distance when I can't reach it. I can just reach it without kind of overleaning. The key is that if I'm breaking balance to reach it, this isn't kind of right. So what you want to be able to do is I just can't reach it. The attack range is then that, just that I can take a step with it. So we're going to work just with a classic kind of shomanuchi, which is kind of the same as this kind of straight striking approach. Straight down the center line. But again, just play with, you've got a slight change of distance now, so you need to gauge the distance, including the sword now. So you've got that kind of distance around about here for me now. And then one step in, finding the strike. And again, I want to be able to make the strike in balance. So just play with approaching, finding the distance for that. To the strike. Good. Yeah, and again, the great thing about working with weapons is they amplify the problems. So the same problems that we've got when you're doing empty-handed, this idea of like, where do I start the attack from and whether I'm preloading the movement before I've kind of done the movement. This becomes worse with the weapon now. So it becomes something like, I get here, and then I load the strike, and then I do it. So really just notice in this case of that happening and try and minimize it. So you want to be able to find the kamae where you can feel you're engaged enough with the sword, connected with the arms. And now the key is the feeling in the body. What I don't want to think about is that I'm striking with the bokken, but I want to think that I'm striking with the body this way. So really think that what you're in, the strike, whether it's a strike with the fist or the bokken or whatever, it's going to be done technique from the body. So the weapon's the body rather than the sword in this case. Just got the sense that you're going to come in, that engage, and really go from nothing to the attack straight away. That's it. Okay, great. So the classic response for us with the sword work in this system as well is the migyō-ase, kirari-ase, so which is wedging off to the right side and wedging off to the left side with a straight strike. So just play now with this. You include both of them in it, and again using the target. But you're going to work now with a simple raise, cutting up, wedging off the line, and really taking the sense line. So either with a slide off to the side with the right foot, or with a change of the hip coming out to the left side. But again, play with approaching the target finding the distance, finding that attack distance, and then just working here. Really looking for the response and the movement to be the same thing. So come in, finding the distance, finding the attack, finding the response in this one. So working with new here.
It's hard.
Hard, right? It's hard. Okay, good. We're going to do the same thing. Just play with this a little bit. So you're going to make basically a secondary stride. So now you've got the response movement. You're coming off the line. You find another strike. But either this person's maybe finished, but you might have other people in the room also, or in terms of an encounter, or this person might not be done yet. So play with them coming into a second attack. And again, you want that ability. In this case, solo work. Just the ability to move is the primary thing. So you've got to distance. You find the reply, but this is never going to be the end of it. So what you want to feel is that you can go into another attack with it, or just another movement. Just think about movement. So the first, you just think about getting to distance, responding, and then moving a second time. It can be absolutely anything. I'm going to do that. Okay, great. Last couple of minutes, what I would do also with this one, you've got this, which is, in a way, this is still kind of kata training, although it's kind of breaking the traditional way, like we would do Miki, or the classic way we do Miki and Hidari, starting with a set position and then moving into it. This case, starting from a distance, closing the gap and then moving. What you want to feel now is a bit more lively with it. So we would work with distance, and getting to distance, but being more lively with it. So basically moving around the mat with it. So it would be something like this. And we're kind of we're playing with the distance in terms of working with a partner, playing with coming in close, retreating out of it, pressing in. So just playing out a little bit more lively with it, primarily with the defensive side, but think about also the attack as well. So the idea of, if you've got a target, just play with it kind of in the room. Obviously it's static, but have a bit more a sense of aliveness with it. So I'm moving around, I'm coming in and out of range or in and out of distance. And planning the attack with it. Or the same thing, moving with it, working with the response side. Just being a little bit more lively with it. Okay, good. And then the next step from this is where you go dangerous. So this is where you drop the distinction between the attacker and the defender, and you both look for the attacks or defense. So this is where basically this is where you get really dangerous. We don't often practice like this in the dojo, very little, and that has to be really safe. So this is where you're both just looking for a strike on the target. So I'm just looking to neutralize the other person with a strike or with a control. So in that case, you will notice if you play with this in the dojo with another person, straight away both of you tend to become very defensive. So no one wants to really make the first attack, because making the first attack's the one where you're going to give a big opening to it. So you realize very quickly that actually making the attack is actually is a really tricky part of it. This is where Aikido is kind of nice in a way, because we get to the point of the attack, we get to that point and then we launch the attack from it. But actually getting to that point of launching the attack is actually one of the tricky parts in terms of an encounter. Dealing with it's another kind of story, but that sense of actually making the first move to it. So that's where you can take this kind of exercise. Okay. Any questions about anything? It's all clear. No.
I wonder, also the arm that with the hold the arm like that and then raise the arm up like that. Is this that I know where my target is, or
this arm coming across the body here. Yeah. In this one is basically establishing the center line. So if you think of this, basically this is on the center line of the body, and then this gives me the guide for where the strike is basically going to be. So that basically centers the body rather than that hand being kind of somewhere here, kind of loose, and kind of where it is. So that's giving me like a very like a fixed position for the body to be, and then dropping it that way. So that's like really lining up with the center and then coming up this way. That's the same also with this kind of striking one as well. Although also this yokomu and more.
This here.
It's kind of reaching, a little bit reaching the target, but the main thing for me is the feeling of it being on the down the center of where the target's going to be. Very good.
Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Anything else?
Thank you.
Very good. Okay, good. We'll back out. So, great. Hey, どうもありがとうございます。
ありがとうございました。どうもありがとうございました。